Today on Good Morning Alderaan.
Corrections from last week.
Mistakes? Could it be?
Lucasfilm Games Division is announced.
EA's reign of terror on Star Wars games comes to an end.
Thrawn rumors are circling the web.
Downey Jr., Mickelson, or Cumberbatch? A fight to the death.
Updates and theories of new series and movies.
Rogue Squadron and Ahsoka, we have your number.
Pat and Andy duel for the high ground while talking Star Wars prequels.
Memory lane to Mustafar. Brothers no more.
And stick around to see who's dropping by as Good Morning Alderaan's first official podcast guest.
Impressed you will be. Will Pat and Andy cover it all? Are the microphones facing the right way and correctly tuned?
All this and more on Good Morning Alderaan.
Hello there.
He's no good to me dead.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
I think you'll fill in nicely.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for news, reviews, and interviews from your favorite galaxy far, far away. My name is Pat, don't call me Padawan Collins. And here is my co-host, the Mayor of Alderaan himself.
Also known as Andy Hanlon.
Well, Andy, we made it again. Despite some technical errors, I'm having a bit of a deja vu.
What were those technical errors, Pat?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Andy. Well, my microphone was facing the correct way this week. However, I couldn't help but notice a couple of beard scratches from your microphone on your end. Could you tell us what that was all about?
Well, the rookie that I am at this, I set up my headphones and my mic as directed by you. Not blaming at all, just stating facts. And,
my nuts. Ow.
Yep. And yeah, how's the tire of that bus feel? And I had my headphones in, the mic on my headphones scratching my not so glorious Obi-Wan Kenobi beard that I'm attempting. And yeah, it didn't go well. I didn't have the mic on that I thought I was talking into.
It still sounded great though. I didn't notice until about 35 minutes into us talking, once I finally heard it scratch against your face. And of course we have our the platform we use, we can see each other while recording this. And I noticed that, hey, wait a minute, I shouldn't really hear your beard scratching them. Anyways, who cares? We're here to talk about Star Wars, not your luscious beard. But yeah, there's a couple of things that happened last week in Star Wars. But first, I think maybe we should always tackle these corrections from last week. Just little snippets, little things where we may have missed, or we may have like stuttered on the answer, or the thought that we had. We don't do a ton of research into each and every episode. A lot of it's just like emotional and where we're at and how we're feeling about things, and very reactive. So bringing things to top of mind.
This is not the Jedi way.
It is not the Jedi way. Bringing things to the top of mind like that just aren't quite.
Maybe we're more like the gray. We're in the gray.
I'd say so. Jedi in the streets, you from what I hear, you are a Sith in the sheets. But yeah, so we'll go over the corrections. And if there's anything you noticed about our performance, I almost said, but our newscasting, or if there's any facts that you think we messed up, feel free to email us, gmalderaan@gmail.com, or slide into those DMs on our Instagram @GoodMorningAlderaan. Same with Facebook. Send us a message on there. We'll be more than happy to correct ourselves and give you full credit for rubbing our nose in that dirt. So my first little mess up that I had, A Certain Point of View, that book that I'm reading right now from The Empire Strikes Back. So all of the participating authors have generously foregone any compensation for their stories and are instead sending their proceeds to First Book, which is a leading nonprofit that provides new books and learning materials and other essentials to educators and organizations that serve children in need. And to further celebrate the launch of the book, both companies' long-standing relationships with First Book, they will donate $100,000 to First Book, and Disney/Lucasfilm will donate $100,000 to children's books valued at $1 million. I don't get how that math adds up, but that's in the press junket that they have. So So they're supporting First Book, and their mission is to provide equal access to quality and education. So if you buy this book, a certain point of view from A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, or in 2023, Return of the Jedi, then you know that your money's going to a good place. Next little correction, Justina Ireland, her novel series that she's previously known for is Dread Nation. Yeah, that's all the corrections that I had.
Actually, I also want to add, I think last week we were talking about, there was a comment you made in the last episode when I was re-listening to it, just to hone my podcast skills, where you had mentioned a line Vader says to Luke about Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Yes.
And I was positive it came in Empire Strikes Back, but I'm pretty sure you're correct and it was in Return of the Jedi.
Yes, it was.
Yes, and I'll be honest, I was very complacent and lazy this week. I didn't actually go back to watch it to confirm that, but my memory has served me well this week, and I believe you are correct.
Thank you. Oh, that feels so good. Man, that just feels good when that just feels good.
Oh, I'll tell you when you're wrong too, so don't.
I know you do.
You know.
You do. You keep me honest, and that's what I love about you, Andy. So second little headline here. We won't go into too much detail on it. Lucasfilm Games made a I don't know if I'd call it a resurrection. They used to be called LucasArts. That's how I grew up on the Star Wars games, knowing them as LucasArts. So it is now Lucasfilm Games, and which thus ends the monopoly of EA's control over Star Wars games itself. So
Fallen Jedi was pretty good though.
Fallen Jedi
was pretty good.
That brought them up a few notches. And even like I still play Battlefront 2 once in a while. I do enjoy that, although it did have a lot of like crappy pay to play kind of features in it, and still to some extent does quite a bit. But that's gaming itself these days. They give you the free or cheap platform, which they didn't do. But you just pay for the bells and whistles. You pay for the paint. You pay for the extra skins. So that's just how they make their money, and that's capitalism, baby. Can't blame them too much on that. But yeah, looking forward to that. They've already partnered with Ubisoft to create an open world story-driven game. So from my understanding, I'm thinking like Grand Theft Auto meets Star Wars. So you can like hopefully customize a character, choose what their affiliation is, and just kind of ride that way and see what comes of it. So interesting to see where that goes.
You pick up some strange Wookiee, some strange Wookiees at the pub.
Pick up a Wookiee on the corner and
yeah.
Watch the Millennium Falcon rocking in the back alley.
Hey, do you charge by the hour?
Oh. Thank you. You are the star of tonight's dreams, Andy Hanlon. Gross. Anyways, moving right along from that, perfect segue into not a perfect segue at all. So, a couple of new shows that are coming out, new shows, new movies. There's tons of them, as everyone knows. I won't go into I was initially thinking, hey, let's give a little brief snippet on each of them. Maybe we'll save that for another episode, because I think we have a lot to talk about today. But I do want to focus in on Rogue Squadron, as well as some theories behind Ahsoka that came up this week via YouTube. Anyways, Rogue Squadron. I don't have a ton on Rogue Squadron, except I have a little passage from my book on how it started, I think. Anyways, so Rogue Group was handed to Wedge Antilles in between, like at the rendezvous point when they went there after Hoth. They weren't sure if Luke was ever coming back. They didn't know where Princess Leia was. They knew that like they needed something to pump the tires of the rebellion and get everyone kind of rah about it. So basically, this person known as the Contessa, who I did a little digging behind, and she was mentioned in a book called The Lost Stars. I don't remember her per se very well in that, but I only remember that book as being like a it's kind of like a love story between these two teenagers, lovers, started in the Imperial Academy. One broke off and went to the rebellion. One stayed loyal to the Empire. And it's just kind of like a Romeo Juliet meets Star Wars kind of thing. It was cute. I think it was a teen novel maybe, but I saw it on sale, I think, on the audiobook section. And I'm a sucker for audiobooks, so I went, what the pickles? Let's go for it. It was fun. It was cute. A couple little Easter eggs thrown in there. But yeah, that's where this Contessa came from. Anyway, she's working with Mon Mothma as a higher up in the Rebel Alliance and telling Wedge to get his shit together and start picking out some pilots that he'd want in Rogue Squadron, the newly formed Rogue Squadron. Now he's hesitant about this because he's like, no, that's Luke's group. And with our ass kicking at Hoth and with it being Luke's group, I think we need to bury the name Rogue Squadron right now. So that's why in Return of the Jedi, he said, well, you see Wedge is like red leader. I think he is. He's actually Rogue leader. And another interesting point, you never hear the term Rogue One in any of Empire Strikes Back, because Rogue One has always been designated as like a remember. It's kind of like retiring a jersey, retiring a hockey number or a player's number in the rafters. It'll always be Rogue Leader. It'll never be Rogue One. It'll always just be Rogue Leader, and then Rogue 2, who was Zev, who got blown up in his snow speeder there. Anyways, they picked. So this happens just after they. So him and his number 2 Jensen. They just did like a back and forth. Who do you want? Okay, I want this person. Who do you want? I want this person. Who do you want? I want this person. So they're just kind of picking their rogue group. So it says, agreed, we're done? We're done. We're done, Commander. Rogue group is reborn, or at least the name is. Wedge shook his head. I think we should ground that name for a while. Too many losses. Jance's eyes turned flinty. So the Empire gets to take that from us too? It's not that, Wedge said. It's that there are call signs I'm not sure I could say in battle right now. Jansen's face fell, and he stared out at the stars surrounding the observation blister. We'll go back to Red Squadron, Wedge suggested. Maybe that name will motivate our new pilots. Or we could go with the reverse psychology and call ourselves Reject Squadron. Wedge sighed. When we're heroes, let's remember to pretty this story up for Rebel Alliance historians. So I'm interested to see if that's actually going to be part of the canon, part of the formation of Rogue Squadron. Is this going to be like a continuation of it? It's going to be interesting. It's the first movie that's going to come after the Skywalker saga, so it's it's going to be interesting to see how it goes and what comes of it. If Wedge is actually going to be involved, will that little story be canon? I don't know. It's part of this 40 stories for 40 years celebration kind of thing. So
this is taking place after the events of Rey on Exegol.
No, this takes place after the Battle of Hoth.
Right. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Because you had said the end of the Skywalker saga.
Yes.
So.
Oh, sorry. Yes. As far as the movies go, first outside
gotcha.
External. Next one after Solo.
The Skywalker saga. Yeah. I got you now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, it should be interesting for sure. So this is my theory I brought to you, Andrew. I know I'm talking a lot. I apologize for hogging the mic, but I'm going to be passionate about this one. And I know you're passionate about Revenge of the Sith, so you'll get plenty of mic time there. This revelation had me like vibrating this week. So this YouTube video came out from Lore Star Video. So all credit goes to him for this initial spark. I did some deep diving myself and kind of came up with some of my own little mini theories and everything. Holy crap. So remember back in the summer, they were talking about the potential of decanonizing the sequels. There was this big upcry for it, and Filoni and Favreau were in on it or something along those lines. Like there was some hullabaloo about decanonizing what had been done in the sequels. So this theory just threw a whole bunch of more fuel in the fire to that, because it kind of went away for a while, but then I discovered this, and it's already happened. It's already been decanonized.
I just can't see it.
It's okay. I have to explain it perhaps. So, I will post the video itself. It's a 12-minute video, but it is mind-boggling once you see the connections and then rewatch some of the other stuff that it all hinges on. So anyways, everything... Okay, sorry, Minch as well. Minch. This is Minch Muffs.
Yoda. Minch Muffs. Minch Muffs.
Minch Muffs.
Minch
yes.
Muffs.
Thank you. If you've not seen Rebels, the TV show Rebels, or seen the last season in particular, there are potential spoilers immediately ahead, so I won't be offended if you hang up now and then come back later once you've watched it.
No, I'll be offended.
Just remember the spot. Andrew will be mad. But I won't. So season 4, episode 13. Okay? Filoni's already decanonized it. Everything hinges around this episode and this fight that happened at the end of season 2, Vader versus Ahsoka. So, what happens there in season 2, season finale? The door is closing, it's going down, and Ahsoka looks underneath, kind of like a failed Indiana Jones. He just kind of looks under and goes, Ahsoka! And she just like keeps her hand up and says like, duck off, I got this. And she continues fighting Vader, stabs the ground, and that's all we really see. Now, season 4, episode 13, I guess episode 12 at the very end of it, but episode 13 is where all the meat happens. Ezra goes into what's called the World Between Worlds, which is kind of like this black hole, sort of, in the Force, which controls time and destiny itself kind of thing. It's kind of like a weird... when I first watched it, I was a little bit like, come on. No, like, don't do one of those time portal kind of things. Like, those are such cop-outs. But I gotta say, with this revelation, I'm a little bit titillated to see where they're gonna go with it, and everything will kind of reveal itself once at the end of this. So, what it looks like basically you're walking through space, and there's these like white lined walkways, and every step kind of looks like you make a little ripple of water, like you're walking in a little 2-inch pool of water, and there's like these ripples, which I would classify as ripples in the Force. This little owl character who's a friend of Ahsoka's, he's kind of been a little in the background every once in a while, named Moray, who we'll touch on Moray in a moment. It's kind of this owl, looks like a little snow owl with a long tail. Mm-hmm. Anyways, it's hooting above this one portal, this one kind of circle with the ramp that Ezra wakes up and looks into, and sees like, oh hey, I know you, you're Ahsoka's friend. And then the thing's like, hoot, hoot, and then like, check out this portal, bud. It looks in and it sees what's unfolding at the finale of season 2 with this fight between Ahsoka and Vader. Now, spoiler alert again, Vader walks out. He limps out of that fight in season 2 at the season 2 finale. So a lot of the fans are like, did Ahsoka die? And then Filoni famously wears Ahsoka Lives on that t-shirt that he wore to a convention later that year kind of thing, just to like give people a little bit of hope, which seems to be what Star Wars is all about. But what happens with this portal is Ahsoka stabs the ground, which creates a bunch of cracks that Vader will ultimately fall through. However, he is in mid-swing heading towards her while her lightsaber is in the ground. No way, like, won't be any time for her to bring it up and defend herself. Ezra reaches through the portal, gives the old Ahsoka, pulls her back through the portal into this world between worlds, and Vader swings it and hits nothing. So, what this lore star guy is kind of theorizing is that in the sequel trilogy, everything that happened there, so Han breaks down, basically. Han buggers off, he kind of falls apart, does his thing. Leia goes to default, just leader mode, all business, no love. Luke Skywalker F's off to this not even magical island with a bunch of puffins that are to just live as a hermit and suck on green milk for the rest of his days. And it's kind of this depressing ending of Star Wars. It ultimately is. I didn't really find any kind of redemption or overly happiness throughout the end of the Skywalker saga. I'm sorry. Like, I loved Rey. I loved Finn. I loved all the new characters, but there just wasn't that kind of emotional tie-in that should, I think, envelop the Star Wars trilogy itself. So the hinge pin moment of this whole thing is when Ahsoka gets pulled through that world, and now is in the universe where, or has kind of branched off and created this new alternate reality with where the Mandalorian is. Because at the Minch, at the end of the season finale of second season of Mandalorian, Luke comes and scoops up Grogu. Now, here's why that's significant as well. Mando would not have found Grogu if Ahsoka had not told... Luke would not have found Grogu if Ahsoka had not told Mando to go to shoot, what's that planet? Tython. Yeah, it's called Tython. And look for the Jedi. So that would have never happened if Ahsoka was not alive. Therefore, Grogu would likely just gone about his way, gone on with Mando doing their thing, and very statistically unlikely have found a Jedi. But in all the stuff where Ahsoka died, Ben Skywalker was Luke's first apprentice. In all the comics and everything that had come out till now, Ben was known as Luke's first apprentice. Now, it looked kind of like Luke had a bit of training in mind for old little Grogu there. Now, at this time, Ben Skywalker would be, I don't even know if would he be born yet?
I thought I read something that he'd be like 10.
Yeah, 5 to 10 years old, something like that. Well, he was 10 when Luke started training him. He was 6.
That's right.
That was it. He would have been 6 at this time.
So he may have just been conceived.
I think he was born just after the second Death Star, or like a year after the second Death Star.
Okay.
I do remember seeing something like that or hearing something like that.
Rahan.
Again, we don't do a ton of deep dive research into just before shouting out these theories. We're just basically gossip mongers. But so anyways, without Ahsoka, Luke would not have found Grogu to essentially maybe cut his teeth with and start the training a little bit earlier with someone else and get a little bit more. He would have had about 4 extra years of training practice, I guess you could say, with Grogu. But who knows what's going to happen to Grogu now if he's going to become the dark,
right?
The Grogu Ren and go buck wild on his temple there. But it's kind of in a way decanonized, or sorry, not decanonized, but undone. It kind of goes against that a little bit, unless. And here's the cop out that I was thinking: when they say apprentice, they mean like there's a difference between apprentice and student. An apprentice would be someone who'd be like your Padawan. That's the one who's at your hip. There may be other students first, where it's kind of like a general thing where, like Yoda, where he's teaching all the younglings. Those aren't his apprentices. I think those are his students. You get what I mean? Like as far as that.
Well, we still don't know about the status of Mace Windu. Maybe at this point Luke has found Mace Windu and delivers Grogu, right? Comes and scoops up Grogu, but then takes him back where Mace Windu is with Luke. Or Ezra, right? Maybe Ezra.
Ezra.
It becomes, I mean, that's probably more plausible. I just thought Mace Windu because I want to see Mace Windu. But perhaps Ezra is training Grogu. Maybe Luke doesn't take on a Padawan yet because he has Ben. Maybe he knows Ben is the Skywalker blood and therefore he's going to train Ben. So he gives Grogu to Ezra. And perhaps Ezra and Luke, or Ezra and Grogu are gone when Ben decides to convert.
All good theories. All good theories. We just don't know. However, this is what's making me really think about this a lot more. And this came towards the end of this video as well that I'm referencing. The text of the show Ahsoka, like the lettering. Mm-hmm, it looks remarkably similar to the design of the World Between Worlds, with that kind of silvery outline, a lot of circles and crop circle looking kind of things to it. I think they're going to touch a lot on this World Between Worlds, and I'm excited to see what comes of it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be neat. It's going to be very, very neat.
Yes.
So, but anyway, sorry. There's one other thing to this theory as well. So, Ahsoka sees Moray, this little owl, who turns out to be the sister/daughter of this other. Again, you got to watch the episode 13 to really know what I'm talking about with this. Who is kind of like a minister of the Force kind of thing, or like an old god of the Force. It's this piece of artwork that essentially is part of the portal to this World Between Worlds. Now, in that very, very next scene, after Ahsoka gets pulled through the window, or through the portal, Sabine Wren has been captured by Minister Hyden, who is one of, you've seen him in Return of the Jedi. He's kind of one of the gray-faced kind of cronies of Emperor Palpatine. Played by, so you'd recognize him when you see him kind of thing. His voice is done by the incredible Malcolm McDowell. You just hear his voice and you're just like, ooh, I'm raptured. And
That's
he
awesome.
he says immediately, look now, the picture has changed. Which says to me, like, she just fucking altered history. She did it. Like Jeff Goldblum, crazy son of a bitch, he did it. They've just altered that whole thing. Now, here's what I think is going to happen in Ahsoka. So,
life will find a way.
you think they pulled up all the dinosaur skirts in the park? So Grand Admiral Thrawn has an obsession with art. It is the absolute key to all of his superior battle knowledge and tactic observations. And Ahsoka knows this. And perhaps Thrawn is trying to assist in the opening of the world between worlds, that world's gate, because of his obsession with art. And which is how you get into the world between worlds in the first place. You got to force manipulate a piece of art, basically, and it lets you in. And so Ahsoka could be trying to prevent him from opening it again. Although he's not force sensitive, but maybe that's why they're trying to get Grogu in the first place. A lot of people think it may be like to get the Snoke blood, because there was another comic that had said that you can't get force powers in a clone. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
So they were trying to do some experiments to see how you could get a force sensitive being. Well, obviously they did it with Snoke. They found a way.
Exactly.
But so yeah, it's very, very interesting to see where that's going to go. I think it has a lot to do with this world between worlds. Yeah, I think Filoni and Favreau are just a couple of wizards, just a couple of Palpatines themselves, and being able to predict the future like this and write things in a certain way. But anyways, yeah, the big hunt I think is going to be Ahsoka and Thrawn. Real quick, next headline: Thrawn. Some people are saying Robert Downey Jr. because he's been in talks to play now, and now Lars Mikkelsen is another name.
I can't see Downey Jr.
No, I can't either.
He can play a very smug fuck, but like, it's just he's a hero, and it's hard to go from the Iron Man Tony Stark smugness but hero charming nature of him.
He's typecast, I think, at this. Well, that's hard to say. Because
it's hard to picture him as a villain, and just his style of acting. As much as I love him, and I think he's a good actor, I don't know if he could pull this off.
I want to agree with you. I do want to agree with you. The only hesitation that I have is I call it the Joker complex that I have now, thanks to Heath Ledger.
Yes.
Right? Like, I was in absolute, like, what? They're casting Knight's Tale as the Clown Prince of Gotham?
10 things I hate about you.
10 things I hate about Heath Ledger.
10 things I hate about the Joker?
Yeah. You got more space? I'll give you more. Like, but he's the Joker. He knocked it out. I can't trust my gut anymore when it comes to these predictions on characters.
It's very true.
It's so tough. But another name was just thrown out today as of recording of this podcast. Lars Mikkelsen, the second of the Mikkelsen family to join the Disney-era Star Wars. Mads, of course, playing the creator of the Death Star, Galen Erso, in Rogue One.
That's right.
But not so fast. He already plays the voice of Thrawn in the animated series Rebels. So kind of like how Katie Sackhoff was Bo-Katan in live action, as well as the voice component of her. So there's a campaign now to see if Lars would take the live action role, and so he'd be an excellent choice. Now I'll play an audio clip of Thrawn as he was originally done by Mark Thompson when Mark Thompson is a brilliant audiobook narrator, by far my favorite. Sorry to all the other audiobook narrators out there of Star Wars universe, I do love you, but Mark Thompson is just he's what really got me into a lot of the Star Wars audiobooks in the first place, from all of his narration and the way he just does the voices. So he, in my mind, created Thrawn's voice. Now I'll play that audio clip, and then we'll play the one from Rebels as well,
who is voiced by,
as I said previously, Mikkelsen, Lars Mikkelsen. So here's Mark Thompson.
Belay that jump order, Lieutenant, Thrawn said, still glacially calm. TIE fighter crews to their stations. Activate deflector shields. Pelion spun back to him. Admiral, Thrawn cut him off with an upraised hand. Come here, Captain, the Grand Admiral ordered.
So pretty gravelly from Mark Thompson. But okay, here's Mikkelsen's Thrawn from the TV show Rebels.
Thank you for the introduction, Agent Gallus. My visit is not an honor, however, but an investigation.
Thrawn.
Vehicles assembled in this factory malfunction at a rate far higher than that of others. I believe poor craftsmanship is to blame, and it has cost your Empire troops and missions.
so you can definitely tell that there's a difference. There's a difference there. There's a difference
totally.
in style. Mark had that kind of deep kind of Thrawn commanding voice. And then it gets a little more high with the next one. And which, again, Mark Thompson adapts beautifully in the new Thrawn novels. His previous performance, the first one that he had was just from the original Heir to the Empire novelization, which was obviously made in 1991. He narrated it, I think it was the anniversary edition, 25th anniversary edition, before Thrawn on Rebels had made his debut. So there wasn't that kind of reference, I guess you could say, as to what that was. But so it'd be tough to see Robert Downey do it. Mikkelsen could pull it off. Cumberbatch, I think, definitely could pull it off. I always thought, I would love to play Grand Admiral Thrawn based on my pointy-ass face, my love of blue makeup, and the fact that my eyes are red more than they are not.
I feel like Cumberbatch. I mean, I'm not a huge Benedict Cumberbatch fan. I know it sounds interesting. Yeah, I like Doctor Strange. It's good. That was a good movie, and he's good in the Avenger movies. But he actually is very good at doing voices.
Yes, he is.
I don't know if you've seen him on the
Graham Norton show.
Graham Norton show, and he does the Jar Jar Binks.
Yes. I'm gonna put that clip in right now.
Oh no, it's a big sea monster.
Oh my god, brilliant!
So
good. I think he's very good at doing voices. So yeah, I could totally see Cumberbatch, and he's already got the British accent. I feel like, I just can't see Robert Downey Jr. I feel like there's a better Star Wars character for him.
Yes,
it's not that I can't see him in Star Wars. I just see him as something different in Star Wars. I see him more, like I said, I think in last episode, more like a Rangers of the New Republic TV show, sort of like commander or leader of the Rangers of the New Republic, or some kind of smug leader. Like he's good, like it's the Iron Man thing, right? Like he is good, but his arrogance is sort of like makes him misunderstood in some ways.
Yep, totally. Like he could be that kind of brash.
Yeah.
I think he might have been like a good DJ, Benicio del Toro's character, but I think they could have done a lot more with that
which
character
was useless
as well.
in Last Jedi. Ugh.
Oh, I was so disappointed.
We'll talk about Last Jedi when we get to that.
We will. We'll leave that for now.
I can't do that right
anyways, yes, that's what's new in the Grand Admiral Thrawniverse. We interrupt this news bulletin for another news bulletin. Another one. Here's a news bulletin. Hey everybody, so I'm recording this after Andy and I had recorded the previous episode where we had our nice little chat about who we were theorizing would be Grand Admiral Thrawn. And Thrawn Narodu himself. It's according to epicstream.com and movieweb.com, there's some reports that it's all but official that Lars Mikkelsen is going to reprise? I don't know. He wasn't really he never really was him in the first place aside from the voice. So he's going to assume the physical persona of Grand Admiral Thrawn himself, beating out the likes of Nerd Hopes, Benedict Cumberbatch, and to some extent as well Robert Downey Jr. But Lars Mikkelsen is Grand Admiral Thrawn. The article says, a quote from epicstream.com says, "Now, a new report suggests that Lucasfilm has finally found the actor who will bring Thrawn to life in live-action form. And it turns out they didn't have to look that far, as Star Wars Rebels' Lars Mikkelsen, who also happened to voice Thrawn in the Star Wars animated universe, has officially signed on to play the menacing baddie. A source close to the good folks over at Small Screen UK claims that Lars will make his debut in the standalone Ahsoka show starring Rosario Dawson." End quote. There you have it, folks. Lars Mikkelsen, there he is. Thank you, and may the Force be with you.
And now, back to the show. The other news.
Yeah, let's get into the sequels.
Prequels.
Finally.
Prequels.
Oh my god.
All right.
Let's get into the prequels. Some Irish crickets to start us off. You know, Andy's about to bring the heat when he has to crack a nice tall wet boy like that.
So, prequels. You know, it's funny. First episode, we were talking about movies I would rank. And, I mean, not to contradict myself, because I'm going to make sure I don't contradict myself because I haven't listened to it that closely, but I'm pretty sure I put it as, and you think I would be confident and know this. People are probably listening being like, why have you not fucking figured out your own rankings? But, like, definitely Empire Strikes Back. I like Return of the Jedi, just for all of the, like, nostalgic hero winning redemption of Vader, Minch Yoda, but redemption of Vader that it is. So Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then like I had put Fork Awakens.
That's our culinary podcast.
The Fork Awakens. Oh, I see you played Knifey Spoony before. Force Awakens in 3, and then I had said that Rogue One was slowly climbing up my ranks. Like, I gotta put Rogue One actually right in there, man. Like, probably top 2 or 3. But what I'm not giving credit to, because frankly, everyone is so down on the prequels.
I think was so down on the prequels until the Clone Wars. I think that pumped.
Do you know the generation I think? The only generation I think is still down on the prequels is the generation who saw the original trilogy in theater, who are old enough to remember the original trilogy coming out. I think those are the people that are more down on the prequels than say like our generation. But I beat up on the prequels just as much as anyone. But the truth is, I fucking loved Revenge of the Sith. I mean, we'll go in order, and I won't necessarily get to my opinion of Revenge of the Sith, but it's got to be number 3 for me, if not 2. I love it. I mean, was the acting bad? Yeah. I mean, I know you had said last week, like, George Lucas's dialogue doesn't help anyone. Do I think Hayden Christensen is a bad actor? I don't think he's a bad actor. I just don't think he's a good actor. And
he's not great. He's not. I don't know if an Oscar is really in his future, but like he had some great stuff when he was younger. I haven't really seen much from him recently. Like he was a good, convincing actor. He wasn't that kind of Anakin stoic and all of these other and that is why I think he was directed to almost be like that.
Yeah.
In a way, or maybe.
But his physical acting, like I said last week, and his physical acting and his look as Anakin Skywalker, I thought was spot on.
Oh, he committed, yeah.
Especially Revenge of the Sith. Like,
yes.
The look in Revenge of the Sith was brilliant. Whoever designed it or encouraged him to take that hairstyle and just the whole look. And then I'm choking on my own passion here. And then it's not COVID. And then just his physical acting and his commitment, him and Ewan McGregor, like their commitment to the physical lightsaber duel.
Months it took them to.
You have to give them credit for that. Like that has to count for something. That has to make up to some degree for the dialogue and the thing. But anyway, to start off the prequels, I mean, Episode 1, Phantom Menace. My favorite quote of the original episode was you, Mr. Don't Call Me Padawan, Pat Collins, talking about the connecting of Darth Maul's lightsabers and the Duel of the Fates. And your exact comment was, that was the scene that brought my milkshake to the yard. I mean, that hands down is the milkshake to the yard scene. But what are your thoughts on like the rest of the movie? Because that is still the single greatest lightsaber duel in the history of Star Wars.
It's the longest sword fight of any movie in cinematic history. I think still there's nothing that's ever been longer. Like I think they went through like 50 different costume changes throughout that scene, something like that. Maybe this will be a fact I'll correct for next week, but just the amount of wear and tear, because as the scene progresses, there's like bits of lava and ash that are falling onto them that are affecting their uniforms or affecting their robes, and that is shown throughout the course. So it's not just the choreography, it's the scene itself. But yeah, like that was absolutely, again, very Khalees worthy in bringing lots of milkshake to the yard. But the rest of the movie, it started great. It started with a fun combination of the best action of Star Wars, which is a combination of starfighter battles and lightsabers. Within the first 20 minutes, you got both in spades. You got a fun little maneuver you got some like danger with Obi-Wan Kenobi almost dying because these weird little buzz droids that are at first comical, but like, oh shoot, that's gonna do some damage. Like that he's in trouble. As weird and goofy as these little spider droids kind of, they're ripping stuff apart on this spaceship, and when you're in a vacuum of space and his windshield fogs up like that, it's like, this is kind of dangerous. And then he gets, of course, last minute, the gates just closing, they skid in. Obi-Wan does this wicked flip out of his canopy, starts cutting droids right away. Anakin slowly just like unbuckles, gets out calmly, pops R2 out, and just joins in the battle in the melee. But like, that's all within the first 5 minutes, as they kind of have a mini heist and try to rescue the Chancellor, who is captured by Count Dooku. And then into this epic lightsaber battle. It grips you from the start. Like, you're like, whoa, what? This isn't even the pinnacle yet. We're not even close to it yet. Like, we haven't even seen Darth Vader. They're still friends. What else could it be? So it's, from there, it was almost hard to see how steep the decline would have to be to get from their level of camaraderie and friendship and brotherhood between Anakin and Obi-Wan down to Darth Vader within the rest of that hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, whatever was left in that movie. So they had to cover a lot of ground very, very quickly in order to get to that.
Which is one of my complaints of the prequels, which is, so like episode 1, to go back that for a second, I was in elementary school when episode 1 came out. So, and like I had said, it was the first ever Star Wars movie that I had seen. To get me interested, I think it's exactly what I needed personally at my age and just where I was, because of the action, and it was kid friendly, right? Like, I think we've talked about that with the pod racing and just like the whole scenes on Tatooine. But Darth Maul was sort of like fearful enough to kind of scare you as a kid a little bit too. Like, he just had a very evil look to him, which I thought
menacing, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually just thought episode 1 was very entertaining. It's not the worst movie in Star Wars. I did find the pod race scene like a little bit long, which is interesting because there's like a whole extended version of that scene.
I loved it, to be honest. I know you were talking about that before, how you didn't like it. I liked the pod race scene. One of my first, because I was a big collector of the Action Fleet, I think Mattel toys.
I have a bin of all my Star Wars toys in the basement. I have a whole bin. Some Star Wars toys are still in their original box.
Whoa, attaboy. I got a Pez dispenser but I think that was from Force Awakens, so that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
But
it's worth a good $1.
Yeah, probably less than that. I'd probably have to pay people to take it off my hands.
Probably.
But anyways, yeah. So I have my Snowspeeder and my Slave One, but the first one that I got from episode 1. Because remember when it was coming out, I was like, "Ooh, Action Fleet! That's like the 3rd generation or the 3rd release of Action Fleet toys." Was Sebulba's Pod Racer, and I got it, as a present, I think. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I was initially playing with it backwards, where he was flying it the other way, because I had no idea as to that those two things were the front engines that were propelling it, kind of thing. Yeah, like it had speed. It was tied to the Nintendo 64 video game.
I remember that
Which
game. I remember that game.
Nintendo slammed it out of the park as far as video game and Star Wars hype and excitement with Shadows of the Empire. I could do an entire episode on Shadows of the Empire, not just the video game, but there was a novelization by Timothy Zahn that will come back. It's already been introduced. Prince Shizor, the green guy, the big boss of that, he was in Star Wars Rebels. He had a little cameo in it. We'll get into that in a different day. But the pod race scene, I was just fine with it. So sorry to steal your thunder to contest you on that, but I will fight you to the death on the entertainment value.
The actual pod race scene itself I thought was long. What I liked about the original though is that Anakin was from Tatooine, right?
Yep.
Because that made sense with Luke going back to Tatooine. Like with the originals and Luke being on Tatooine story and tying that all together. I liked how it showed sort of like, you don't really know a lot about Jabba the Hutt from the originals, right? Like he just sort of appears as this guy, this big slobbery thing that Leia chokes out. But like, it was kind of cool to see like the Hutts, they're gangsters, I think is what one of Padme or Queen Amidala's guard says, right? The Hutts are gangsters. So like, it's just very interesting to see that side of it. The pod race itself, in terms of like releasing Anakin from slavery, I thought was like a really cool piece of it. So like the pod race had its place. It was entertaining. I just felt a little bit long. In terms of like the movie though, I thought it was really good just in terms of setting up what is the politics of Star Wars. The first glimpse at Senator Palpatine and his sort of first planting of the seed that Chancellor Valorum is there's no confidence in him, and getting a young Queen Amidala is young and naive, right? That's what he says when he's Sidious. Like he sort of manipulates, as much as we kind of see Padme in later episodes as being very poised and stoic and composed, to see how he manipulates a very young teenage queen essentially into voting for petitioning like a vote of non-confidence in the Chancellor, so that he can then take his seat as the Chancellor in the Senate. Like I just thought that was really cool and very well done. So what I liked about it is I didn't recognize the kids. As a kid, I liked the pod race. I liked the lightsaber duels. I liked all the action. Jar Jar Binks I liked as a kid, right? Which you heard me for episode 1 rag on Jar Jar Binks. Like
I didn't mind him.
Right?
Hate is gonna hate.
We talked about speaking and intelligence, Pat, but it's just the things that attract me as a kid are not necessarily the things I still like some of them, but it's the other stuff now as I get older that I appreciate about the movie. Qui-Gon Jinn seeing the potential in Anakin, petitioning to the council, explaining what midichlorians are before they take off to go back to Naboo. The whole stuff with the Gungans and going underwater sea and all that, like that could have done without that part of the movie. I understand it made sense for one of the fight scenes, like battle scenes, but
yeah,
I could have done without it.
Yeah, it wasn't a great battle as far as like entertainment value or anything, but yeah, it served a mini purpose.
And then of course like the lightsaber duel and Darth Maul, and what I've loved about like the Star Wars universe and the cartoons, and then with the movie Solo is they're bringing back up Darth Maul. I really thought Darth Maul was going to appear in the Obi-Wan series, because of what happens in Rebels. If a Minch muffs, where Obi-Wan takes on Maul again and finally kills him. I really thought we'd see Maul be like sort of the centerpiece. I really thought they were gonna connect Solo. And at the end of Solo, where he says, I'm going to, like, Woody Harrelson's character talked about, like, a job on Tatooine, which obviously I think connected to the Hutts, and then Solo following him there, and then, Daenerys Targaryen going there, and now she's working for Maul, and then sort of Solo getting tied up with Maul a little bit. But then, although Solo and Obi-Wan never meet, because obviously they meet down the road in the original movies, that we would still have Maul kind of find Obi-Wan on Tatooine, that would revisit all that stuff, which you never know, right? Like, the Obi-Wan series is going to focus on Vader, but we don't know what other threads. Like, we don't even know, even though if the Obi-Wan series ends, if the Obi-Wan character, Ewan McGregor, may not even appear in a later Solo movie or something to do with Darth Maul. Like that, there's so many opportunities. Anyway, I'm completely digressing.
Maul got cut in half once. He can come back.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a little bit comical at that point. Like, he'd be like, "Oh, tried to kill me again, huh? Whoa, almost got me that time."
So, I really enjoyed episode 1. Attack of the Clones was... Oh, what can I say about Attack of the Clones? It had potential. Like, there were moments of it with an older Anakin and that mullet-wearing Obi-Wan, just the heartthrob that he was, the beautiful hair that Ewan McGregor had in that movie. It was just very interesting. And to see the confidence in Obi-Wan from, say, when he was a Padawan with Qui-Gon in the next movie, I thought that was good. Jar Jar all of a sudden becoming part of the Senate made no sense.
He's the one who nominated the emergency powers too.
Yeah, I know. Like, it just speaks to them trying to find redemption for the character and take the character from being this, like, kind of jokeable idiot into
A more pivotal
right
pin kind of role.
And it's no disrespect to the actor.
Oh no, I'm at best. He's
Like,
following directions.
we talked about it, right? Like,
It's not his fault. It's character.
it's no disrespect to that. It was just an interesting character. What I liked about Attack of the Clones was the introduction of Jango Fett.
Yeah, the Fediverse.
Being able to the clone piece, which cloning obviously is a big thread throughout everything now that we're seeing. So to have the cloning piece, Jango Fett, Tamir Morrison obviously coming back as Boba Fett, but being as Jango Fett, like I liked the piece with Jango Fett and a young Boba Fett. I liked how they started touching on the Clone Wars. What I wish they would have done in the movie, I mean, all the obvious flaws apart, like I know I've talked about before in a previous episode around like the CGI and the piece of fruit coming across the table when they're falling in love. Like, the love stuff was very forced.
Yeah.
It was very awkward. The dialogue made it awkward. But what I really, obviously, I enjoyed the lightsaber battle with Obi-Wan. It wasn't like super high energy from Duel of the Fates like the episode before, but Anakin like swinging the dual lightsabers, getting the arm cut off, him and Obi-Wan. I thought that was really good. Obviously, Yoda stole that entire movie with the force grabbing of the lightsaber and just like the spitting and yelling. Like, that was the highlight of the entire movie. But yeah, it was just bad in so many ways. But what I really wish they would have done, they teased Anakin's dark side when going back to Tatooine to find Shmi Skywalker, Shmi Skywalker, his mom. Schmeed. I was thinking Schmeed from Hook. Shmi.
It is Shmi.
Oh, it is Shmi. Oh, it is Shmi.
No, not Shmi. Duh, Shmi.
Yeah.
Shimmy,
Shimmy,
but you say it really fast. Shimmy,
Yeah.
Shimmy.
I'm all over the place. But when Anakin goes back to get his mom,
Mr. Shmi.
Mr.
Sorry,
Shmi.
yes, I'm done.
When Anakin goes back to get his mom, though, like, and kills all the Tusken Raiders, I thought that was a cool scene when he kills the Tusken Raiders.
Yep.
But like, I wish they would have started flirting more with his relationship with Palpatine. It was very superficial in that movie, and I feel like they could have done a better job in that movie setting up Revenge of the Sith. Because I agree with you, in Revenge of the Sith, they crammed so much into 2.5 hours, and as much as I enjoyed Revenge of the Sith, the turn from Skywalker Jedi to Vader Sith was so abrupt. It was almost like too abrupt. Like, I know they tried purposely planting the seed that he was going down this path, and everyone knows he's going to become Darth Vader, which I think is what also makes it kind of hard to live up to all people's expectations around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could go on a rant about it for days. I wish they would have done more in Attack of the Clones to set up him becoming Darth Vader, to actually make more of the movie him as Vader.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll just say that I'm done not liking Attack of the Clones. I've just accepted it for what it is. I still put it on every once in a while in the background while I'm doing stuff.
Oh,
I
God
just
bless you.
I just accept it for what it is now. It's Star Wars lore. It is what it is. It struggled with its relationships. You're 100% right there. It struggled, I think, to really solidify the brotherhood between Anakin and Obi-Wan. But again, that's what the Clone Wars TV show I think did. But
Does the relationship between Anakin and Palpatine in that movie actually make you creepy though? It's so creepy. Like,
oh yeah,
there's a scene in it where they're at the Senate and Palpatine's walking with Anakin with his little like rat tail dreadlock that he's got, his Padawan bead.
His trip to Jamaica.
Yeah.
Little hair bead.
Yeah, and he's just saying, "Oh, it hurts me so much that the council." Oh no, maybe that was in Revenge of the Sith. It pains me how much the council doesn't respect you. Like, he's just such a creep. Actually, I think it was Revenge of the Sith.
It was Revenge of the Sith on that one. But again, like that should have almost been in Attack of the Clones to set up that relationship and kind of really strengthen and show that Palpatine's like, poor baby, give me your hand. Like, you just Daddy's got you. Daddy Palpatine's got you. Yeah. Come to Daddy.
Come to Daddy.
Good. But and the relationship between, like, George Lucas is a freaking Zuckerberg robot. I'm sure. Like, his writing of that scene where they're literally rolling in a field with these cows.
The CGI cows, and he falls off of one.
Oh my God!
Oh, it's brutal.
I couldn't have been cheering harder for them to break up. Just like, oh.
Okay, but aside from me being completely attracted to Natalie Portman in that movie, I thought Natalie Portman was like the most beautiful human being in the world, which actually made me, when I was young, right? Because we were in like grade 10.
Oh yeah.
Like, I kind of got past how bad it was because I'm like, oh, I really like this chick. Like, I think she's great.
I wish I was rolling in a field with cows and her.
I'd say whatever you want.
Yeah, I'll go to the dark side for you.
I'll talk really slow, monotone, and sensual just to get your attention.
How many younglings do I have to kill? I'll do them all.
Ew.
Lame. But yeah, and then like it just struggled with the connection of relationships and building and like that's my only complaint. The whole speeder chase in the beginning I thought was a little bit like it was fun in its way, but at the same time like meh. Could have been done better. That shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that's the review. That's any kind of movie review ever. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
The best line in Attack of the Clones is Ewan McGregor. What are you gonna do? Get a drink.
Yeah, where are you going?
For a drink. I thought that was great. But anyway, I think ultimately, like, it brings me to Revenge of the Sith. So I've kind of talked about it a little bit. There's a little bit of stuff there. But I think you nailed it. Like, the fight with Count Dooku, and just, like, I know it wasn't overly graphic, but it was probably one of the more darker moments in Star Wars.
Oh, for sure.
When Anakin disarms Count Dooku.
Nice.
And holding the red lightsaber. For me, that had, like, a very big significance. When I see Anakin Skywalker with the scar across his eye holding the red lightsaber, I'm like, okay, here we go. Right? But the beheading of Count Dooku at the do it. I just thought was great. General Grievous stuff. I mean, I know Grievous has made his way into some of the animated stuff. What was hard was like it really just had he was just sort of like crammed into the movies. So if people hadn't like really known much about his character, like it was just sort of like he just like put into a bunch of these movies, and then all the Obi-Wan stuff fighting him, I thought was just like a big waste of time. Like Obi-Wan riding that like banshee thing.
Yeah, it was a little annoying.
I just thought it was like in a really pointless scene. Like I feel like they could have condensed the movie and made some time for some other stuff. If they remove some of that stuff, like not to say he can't fight Grievous, but like it's like why does he have to chase him like that? Like just why can't he just jump down, say hello there, and fight him and kill him and be on his way, right?
Have a nice long lightsaber fight. Yeah, it was a little bit extended.
Yeah, so there are obviously some complaints with it, but just like the whole Order 66 stuff, being able to see Chewbacca on Kashyyyk was kind of cool. I thought that was good.
That was fun.
Yoda sensing the fall of the Jedi and the Force and his heart. Like, I thought that was really good.
Yep.
Before that, obviously, Mace Windu. I mean, we can speculate on Windu. We'll do it all the time. Samuel Jackson, I know, has put stuff out there. He wants to come back. Purple lightsaber.
Sammy lives.
That crimson lightsaber. Like, or not crimson, the amethyst. Sorry, the amethyst lightsaber.
Amethyst,
Like,
of course.
yeah. Like, all of that, I think would just be great. But in terms of what it was, although it was a little bit of abrupt, the turn, and it was a little bit rushed, like, I just thought it was excellent. And the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, and Hayden Christensen, like, it was just so well done.
So well.
It was just so well done.
Yeah, like it was.
And the high ground line, and like the fact that he like cuts off all 3 like remaining limbs that he has in one swing, and then the burning of him, like, it was more dark than people want to give it credit for. Like, it was really good, which is why I don't think the beheading of Jar Jar Binks is that far-fetched.
It was the first. Misa. It was the first Star Wars movie to be rated PG-13, but like you have to. You're showing a guy getting burned alive via lava.
It was great.
It was like, and that's what everyone was looking for. How, like, you saw how mangled he was in Return of the Jedi, and to a lesser extent in Empire Strikes Back, when you just see Anakin's head, you see,
Right.
He's had a time. Something happened to this guy to make him that way. Witnessing him burn alive brought the audience along with that and made you feel a little bit of that pain, that cringe.
I know we
to be like, that discomfort that you feel, that when you see Darth Vader, you like seeing him in the suit is almost a redemption in a way, to be like, yeah, I get it, man. You got to wear that. You wear it, Queen. Like, throw that on if that helps you. Trust me, as pale as I am, and I'm out in the sun for too long, I wish I could have a suit like that would cool me down a little bit. So if I was just cooked like a marshmallow in lava, I'd love a big black aloe suit like he's got.
Yeah, totally. And I thought Ewan McGregor, like, his acting with, as much as we teased it last week with, "You're my brother, Anakin, I loved you," like, it was really well done, his connection. Because the thing is, it's the first time Obi-Wan, because you had mentioned about General Obi-Wan and not recognizing R2 in last episode, because, like, it's that General Kenobi mentality, not to get too close. But he says, "I loved you."
Yeah.
Jedi aren't supposed to love.
Yeah. Yes.
Obviously it's a brotherly love, but, like, you're not supposed to feel love. You're not, like,
that attachment.
And the thing is, though, that with Obi-Wan, which is interesting, it's because of that love that he doesn't finish the job.
Yes.
Because the Jedi, I know, aren't supposed to be like these killers, but, like, Yoda said, like, if you think of the scene before that, when they go to the temple to change the code so that remaining Jedi don't get this distress signal and return to the temple just to be set up to be cornered and slaughtered, he says, like, you have to fight him, like, you have to do it, essentially, right? Like, not in those words, but
yep.
He essentially says this. And twisted and evil he's become, Darth Vader he is, like, all this stuff. Like, Yoda is basically giving Obi-Wan full license. You have to kill him.
Yeah, you
must kill him.
Right? Yeah.
And he just leaves him there to burn alive. Like, all he had to do was go stick his lightsaber through him, right? Like, that was it. But he left him alive because he loved him.
Yeah.
And
he couldn't do it.
Right. And then it's going to come back to haunt him, which I think we may get some of that dialogue in the Kenobi series. There may be something that comes up.
That justification as to why leave me alive. Why didn't you kill me?
And I think we're going to see more of the conflict in Vader. Like, I really think in the Obi-Wan series, we're going to get some of that, like, inner turmoil, PTSD with Vader. But sticking to the series, like, I thought Revenge of the Sith was as well done as it could have been. Obviously some improvements are there, but for, like, the time it was made, I got no complaints about it. It's easy in hindsight to reflect back and say, I wish this, this, and this, but I certainly don't regret Revenge of the Sith in the same way I regret, like, Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi, because, like, I feel like there's no excuse for this recent trilogy, which we'll talk about in a later episode, but there's no excuse.
Yeah, it's like I said with the Attack of the Clones, I'm done hating on it. I never really hated it per se. Like, hate is a very strong word. Never have I felt the need to chop 3 of its limbs off while it's trying to flip over my head kind of thing. It's just like, at the time, I was comparing it to the original trilogy. And now that the sequels are out, maybe people are comparing the sequels to, maybe that's kind of the same thing, where it'll just take a generation to grow up and be like, hey, no, I like this. Don't hate on this so much. It is what it is. It's fine. Leave it. Stop hating on it, kind of thing. But that's for a podcast another generation from now. Maybe my kids will talk about that, but
Yeah, one day.
Anyway,
One day. All right, so as promised, as well, Andy, our guest for next week, the very first guest on Good Morning Alderaan, is going to be none other than the one and only, the fabulous Nick Maley. Now, Nick is one of the actual creators of Minch Yoda, later known as Just Yoda, the artist formerly known as Minch Yoda. And so he was an actual makeup designer who, they were called makeup designers before they were called special effects artists.
Yeah.
And he's going to be joining us on the show next week. So as promised, there you have it.
Very excited. Very, very excited.
Yeah, me too. Very excited. But,
all right, younglings. I think that's enough for today.
We talked a lot.
We did. Covered a lot of
Yeah,
ground.
we did.
A lot of high ground.
Yeah, a lot of high ground in this episode.
Hey-o.
Hey, nailed it. So yeah, we just want to thank everyone again for hanging out with us. And as we always say at every episode, is we can't thank you enough. And please punch that subscribe button. Give us a rating. Share us with all your friends. Whatever you're doing to support us, we greatly appreciate it.
You can find us on Instagram at Good Morning Alderaan, same as Facebook, Good Morning Alderaan. And if you have any questions or corrections or anything like that, as we've said, please go ahead and send those to us. Slide into those DMs, or you can send us an email, gmalderaan, which is G, the letter, M, the other letter, ALDERAAN @gmail.com. And Andy, are you ready for that final fact?
Oh, right, the final fact.
The final fact. I got a great one here for you. So the casting process started in 1995 for The Phantom Menace. Do you know who auditioned and could have was in strong consideration for the role of Mace Windu?
Is it wrong that I want to say Morgan Freeman?
Close, but you're way off. Tupac Shakur.
Oh, no.
Tupac Shakur. He was a lifelong Star Wars fan, apparently.
It's a good thing there was no changes.
It was reported that it was Mace Windu that he auditioned for at the time. But ultimately the role was going to Sammy Jackson anyways. However, he was apparently in strong consideration for the role after auditioning. So that would have changed the game entirely. But it's that could have been very, very interesting to see old Pac at the it wouldn't have been an amethyst lightsaber. That was Sammy Jackson's thing. He wanted a purple lightsaber with
I just think that would have been
motherfucker
terrible.
Engraved in the lightsaber hilt.
What?
Yeah, Sammy Jackson had engraved in his hilt while he's filming too. Bad motherfucker.
I did not know that. That's a second fun fact.
Second fun fact. That's a two.
This is why we need more Mace Windu. This is why we need more
We
Mace.
need more. Sammy, get at us. Come on. We know you're listening. Get at us. But anyways, on behalf of my co-host and I just want to say again, thanks for listening. And hey, always be a Jedi in the streets
And a Sith in the sheets.
good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.